You ready to do this, Dev?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewy.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot tonight is Devin Tyus.
What up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us here tonight. This is episode number 68. We release every Thursday morning on iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us each and automatically every week in your ear holes. Devin, what is going on, my man? What is new?
Oh, same old, work, life, games.
I hear that.
Just been chilling. It's actually really, really warm out here in Bakersfield, so that's a change of pace. But other than that, things are well.
So, is the weather like unusually warm there right now, or is it just like the normal kind of like spring's coming on? And
it's unusually warm today. It actually hit the 80s. Usually around this time, yeah, it's like 70. It's been pretty cold out here, like mid 60s. So for it to hit 80 today and just be really warm was a little uncharacteristic. So,
that's not bad though. I mean, I ride a motorcycle, and today it hit 60 here, which is still pretty warm for like the middle of March, and tomorrow's supposed to be like 63. So I think I'm gonna ride to work in the morning. Because
nice.
It's cold in the morning, but then it's nice coming home. So I'm kind of looking forward to warmer weather. I'll trade you any day of the week.
No, I'm good.
Dang it! You don't want to freeze to death, man?
Nah, I'm good. I don't know how to even act in the snow. So
slowly. If you just go slow, you're okay. It's the people that go too fast and they don't know what they're doing. That's the problems. So Dev, tell the super friends, like, what are you up to? Where are you at? Where can people find you? Let's get that right out of the way, man, because I know if people are out there like me, they want to be able to listen to you on a regular basis. Where can that happen?
So yeah, I'm part of the Play Some Video Games crew, PSVG. I do have two shows that I'm on regularly on that weekly. We have the Unrated, which records on Thursdays, usually posts on Saturdays, and then we have PSVGOT, which records usually Saturday night and posts on Tuesday. You can also find me at Devin Tyus on Twitter. Come holler at me, talks all kinds of nerdy trash with me.
Or Dat Ninja Dev on PSN.
I always forget to add that in there because I am terrible at playing with people because my hours that I play are so bad. But yes, you can find me at Dat Ninja Dev 2 on PSN or newly Dat Ninja Dev on Xbox.
There you go. I got to say, I had so much fun coming on PSVG OT with you and Coach Mo. Was that a couple weeks back ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things where I was worried because I was like, man, I'm behind on some games. I got a big backlog. And Mo's like, yeah, just come on. We're just going to talk and, it's going to be whatever. And I was like, wait. There's no real format. I can just, BS and be myself. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And, dude, it was such a good time. Like, I had so much fun. When I listened back to that episode, I was listening and I was like, yeah, man. I'm like, it just sounded like we were like just having a good time. And I was like, good. Because you know how it is, like, if it doesn't come across that way, like I don't know, at least me as a podcaster, like I feel bad. I'm like, I could have done better for their show and I could have made it, I could have been more exciting or interesting or whatever. And I just sounded boring, but
yeah, no, it was perfect. Like you came across like we were all just best buds. And that's
right.
What we were hoping for with the OT. Instead of it being this like, drawn out thing where we have this many topics, we're going to talk about this. It's more of the personal show where we try to have people on so people can actually get a better inside look at the podcasters, who they're listening to. And when you get that just kind of free flowing, no kind of format, and everybody can just be themselves, it makes all the other podcasts you listen to better because you get a little bit of glimpse into them and why maybe they feel the way they do about certain stuff. So that's just kind of what we're going for with that show. Is just a free flowing friends having fun talking like it's us sitting around watching the game or something.
Well, I love it, and I highly recommend it to any of the super friends listening. Go listen to PSVG OT. It is so good. And I gotta say, I love the little segment with Coach Mo's kids asking questions, because that's brilliant. Because instead of like just other people or maybe like in the gaming industry or into a lot of that stuff, you got kids who maybe aren't as exposed or maybe just kind of starting to get into stuff, and so you probably get kind of a good plethora of questions along a variety of topics.
Yeah, it's great. It definitely keeps us on our toes and keeps things interesting. It's not the same stuff over and over again. And it can be anything from like your first crush to, your favorite video game. So it runs the gamut. It's just whatever the kids are thinking about, whatever they want to hear somebody talk about. Those are the questions we get, and we get just a variety of answers. You get all different walks of life on that show. So it's really good to just be able to talk about whatever,
Nice. I love it. Love it. So get this week, sometimes you have weeks that are just kind of whatever, normal, right? You go to work, you come home, kids, wife, whatever you're doing, you play some video games, you watch some TV, rinse, repeat. This week though, I had something really funny happen at work. My boss has been he's big into barbecuing. He's from like southern Louisiana. And so he's always like talking about like boudin and, making gumbo and all this other stuff, which he does. And it is really good. But he bought this, it's like a shrunken down version of like a 55-gallon steel drum. It's like maybe a 20-gallon. Okay. But it's this little, they call it a pit barrel cooker junior. And basically it's like just this gallon, like 20-gallon drum. It's got a little hole in the bottom that you kind of adjust to let in the oxygen depending on your elevation, a lid, and then like 2 pieces of rebar. And you basically drop a bunch of charcoal briquettes in the bottom. You use some hooks to hang meat and put it in there so they're hanging vertically. And then you smoke meat for like 6 hours. And he brought in ribs on Friday. And let me tell you, oh my, those ribs were delicious. I immediately started looking online to find out how much it would cost for me to get one, or if I could make one myself, which is I think the route I'm going to go, because I can probably cut his price by a third maybe. Right. And so I can get it pretty cheap. However, I had this moment where I have 2 clients and they share a parking lot. So in IT, I end up crossing the parking lot quite a lot, and I go over to the other one. And as I'm coming back to go back to the main building where my office is, where my desk is, I see a lot of smoke in the air. And I look up and I was like, man, that's kind of awkward. And then I look over and the dumpster has flames shooting 5 feet out of the top of this thing. The lid is melted off of it. Oh, wow. And I'm not a small guy, but I started like sprinting back into the main building, and my boss was on his phone, and I just looked at, I didn't even break. I was just like, hey, did you put those briquettes in the dumpster? And he's like, yeah, and, try to cover the thing. I'm like, it's on fire. Wow. And he just looked at me. He's like, what? And I was like, it's on fire, man. And of course we go running outside and like we grab some fire extinguishers, and then of course like everyone in the other building and then our main building, like everyone's kind of coming out seeing. We ended up using like 9 fire extinguishers to try to put this thing out, and then we had to get some guys like filling up these like buckets of water from like a bathroom to help douse it out, because not only was the dumpster full of trash, but there was like a couple wooden pallets in there as well. No. And so this thing was just going, and like paint's peeling off of it. And freaking out, and like this one lady we work with, she comes out and she's like on the phone with like 911, like trying to tell them the directions. We're like, no, we got this under control. We don't need the fire department to roll out here. But dude, like my boss was just running around like. So the funny thing is, he just wanted to come in and make us ribs. That's all he wanted to do. He didn't cool down those coals enough, and so instead it cost him a $200 replacement dumpster fee, a $350 fee to replace all of the fire extinguishers, plus the cost of the ribs and the cooker. So that lunch probably was like $1,000 rib lunch when it was all said and done.
Crazy.
Dude, it was awesome. And of course, I took a picture of the dumpster after the fact, because we're going to make it his screensaver and we're going to give him a hard time about it. But like, how you have those moments, Dev, where like you have a thought and like this thought's maybe not the best thought, but you still have that thought anyway for a split second, right? I had this thought. I'm like, I should go over and snap a picture of the fire as it's coming out before I go in and tell him.
Right.
That way I've got that thing and I can really lord it over him later and give him a hard time. But then, like, the better part of my brain's like, no, the fire could catch on to one of the other buildings and, lives could be at stake and let's take care of business. But there was that moment, that split second.
Oh,
though.
yeah. Well, you're a better man than me because I probably would have took that picture. Been like, what? It's already going. I'm going to go ahead and get this as I'm moving, But...
I should have videoed it, but it's also one of those things where, like, my boss is a real good guy and a real good friend. And I was like, I felt like if I was videoing him trying to put this thing out, like, I'd almost be kind of kicking him while he's down, I mean. So
yeah.
I'm regretting it now. I'm really regretting it now. But at the time, I was like, I got to be a good guy.
But you've got the after picture, so, that's great, especially when it's just like his background or his screensaver and it pops up and has to remind him constantly, so.
Well, he does these lunches like once a quarter where he feeds like the entire company. Mm-hmm. And I'm just waiting for him to like send that out and like send out the email to everyone. And I'm going to do a reply to all and be like, hey, just so you're, just to be careful, bring the fire extinguishers. Chuck has a habit of burning lunch. Something like that. Just to give him a hard time.
Oh, yeah.
It was a fun week, man. Like, I went and saw Black Panther again.
Nice.
I wanted to get a second viewing to kind of see where I was at still on my feelings towards it. My wife actually went to go see it with her sister, and they liked it. And, the rest of the week's just been crazy, man. Like, work, kids, all the rest. I mean, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oof. It never stops, right?
No. As much as I hope, it's like even when vacations come around, like it doesn't stop. It's like, I still have to get my kids to bed at the same time, and I got to get them up at the same time. And what do you mean they have to eat again?
Yeah,
I'm like, come on, that doesn't stop. Yeah,
it's so crazy. A lot of times, vacation end up just feeling like more work because you got to do all the same stuff you normally do. Yeah.
When you take a vacation, like if you go somewhere, do you try to give yourself like a day or a 2-day buffer when you come back to kind of like relax and kind of get in the swing of things?
Absolutely. My wife is really good at always making sure she takes the day off and the day after so she has that time to just kind of recover from the actual vacation.
See, I need to have your wife talk to my wife then because I want that so bad, and we're going to try it with our upcoming Disneyland vacation, but usually my wife's like, well, we have 9 days consecutive off. Let's do 9 days worth of stuff. And like, and I was like, no, because then I get home like at midnight and go back into work at 6 a.m. the next day. That's not cool.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
She's like, yeah, but we get like an extra day doing whatever. And I was like, I want to take a nap.
Right. Can I get a vacation from my vacation, please?
Right, exactly. I'm getting a little cough. Yeah. Anyway. Well, let's get this party rolling, man. Let's get in some Rebel Intelligence. What do you say?
Let's do it.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
Okay, Dev, Rebel Intelligence. Let's kick this thing right off. I'm going to start. So, I don't know about you, but I am super pumped for the Ready Player One movie. I've read the book. Have you read the book or know anything about the movie?
I love the book. It was a page turner. I was actually on vacation and finished the book in a day, which was bad because then I had nothing to read for the rest of the vacation. But yeah, I'm jazzed. I can't wait.
So did you actually read it, or do you like an Audible guy and you like listen to it?
I can't do. I don't want to do books on. I can't do books on tape. I like the actual feel of turning the page and reading the book and visualizing everything in my head. Like I don't want to have someone narrate because to me, part of it is when I'm reading stuff, it's more like watching a movie because when I'm reading, I just kind of visualize everything and everybody has their own voice. So having someone narrate to me kind of takes away from the reading experience for me personally.
I get that. I typically like to read. However, lately I've gotten on a real big kick with listening to audiobooks because sometimes at my job, like I can get a couple hours where I'm just doing like the same type of thing. And so I've got a break. And it's like, that's when I listen to podcasts or listen to audiobooks. But this movie, I don't know about you, but man, I'm hyped about this movie, but I'm trying now to, after my Black Panther experience, I'm really trying to temper my expectations and say, it's not going to be as good. They can't do it the way that I imagine it in my mind and the way, when I read it, I think of people. But here's the thing. Reviews are starting to trickle out because they had their their grand opening, right? And so apparently at South by Southwest on Sunday, they released it. And everyone's saying that for the most part, because I guess there was some technical glitches and like they had some sound issues, which I don't think anyone would give it a bad review based on that, because obviously that's not, Steven Spielberg's fault. That's
nothing to do with
the theater.
Yeah.
Right. But everyone's saying that it feels very much like a Steven Spielberg movie, that there's all kind of the nostalgia that's thrown in there, all the kind of the callbacks, that has that kind of feel of like, you're watching like an E.T. movie, or you're watching, something back in that era. And I love that. Like, that's got me excited. There was something that one of them said, and I want to read this, someone tweeted, that like made me really, 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 like excited. It says, come on. It says, Ready Player One. Haven't felt that sense of childlike wonder since Jurassic Park. This film lacks the terror of that film, but the sense of joy is overwhelming. This film is love. And I love that, because I remember like the first time seeing Jurassic Park, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you get that big scene, Sam Neill's in the Jeep and he pulls up and then he kind of stands up and then the camera pans around and you got those big brontosauruses walking by. Or brachiosauruses, I guess the little kid corrects them. Dude, like, that was one of those moments. I mean, I was probably preteen or like early teenage years when that movie came out, and it just hit me right in the feels. I was like, yeah, man, this is cool. So I don't know what you've seen the preview for Ready Player One. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the way they're kind of showing the avatars for like Artemis and for, all the rest?
It's funny. I mean, they look a little bit different than what I would imagine. For me, for some reason, as I'm reading the book and just thinking about like all the different stuff that they're going through, and like the fact that it was kind of like a timepiece, like everything was like 80s stuff. Everything was stuff in the 80s. So for me, when I'm picturing like their avatars, I'm thinking in that. So I'm looking at way more pixelated type stuff, not as like just sleek and futuristic as everything looks. But then it makes more sense when I think about it. It's the Oasis. It's way far in the future.
Right.
So it would make more sense for the avatars and everything to look that way, to have a much sleeker design. So it threw me off a little bit, but then it makes more sense when you think about what the Oasis is and what's actually going on.
How big do you think this movie's going to be? Man,
it's so hard to say. It has that it's either going to be great or it's going to flop, because of just how it tackles everything, what it's about. So I think that, people like us who grew up in that era and kind of can attached to so many different things in that book and who have actually read it, I think it's going to be huge for us. And I feel like we're kind of like the power generation right now who's going to be going out to go see this. So I think it has the potential to be really, really, really big. And I'm hoping that it does, because I loved it. I really, really loved the book.
Did you, so let me ask you this. Did you read his other book, Ernest Cline's other book, Armada?
I have not.
So it's not bad. But so this is what I was thinking about, right? Is if Ready Player One is a massive success, and I hope it is, because I really enjoyed that book a lot and I enjoy the story. If it's a massive success, what's the follow-up, right? Because that becomes the big question in Hollywood now. We have a huge hit. What's the sequel? How do we follow it up? And I'm not going to give anything away. I'm not going to say anything that would spoil anything. But this is a very self-contained story.
Right.
So I don't see how they could continue on. And then his next book, Armada, kind of has a very similar feel to this book, but it's different enough. But I don't think it was as well reviewed or maybe as well beloved as Ready Player One was.
Right.
Kind of felt like maybe if Ready Player One's 100 on a scale of 100, Armada was like an 80. It was still good. Still worthy to read, but not quite to the the level that his other book was. And so I'll be curious to see if this goes gangbusters. What are they going to do? Because that they're going to be like, we're greenlighting a sequel, but what would that be?
I would love for it to just be a self-contained thing. Like, we don't have to have sequels for everything. Like, can we just leave this as its thing and just let it have its moment and have its peace and time? We don't need to create the next one. Like, let's just leave it alone. Like, some things are better off.
If they would have just done the one Matrix movie and never done the other two.
Right.
Still would have been a great film.
Mm-hmm. Some things don't need sequels.
That's right. I mean, are you really going to go back and do a sequel to the 10 Commandments? No. Charlton Heston killed it. There's nothing else. What are you going to do? Like, also, I went up and got these other things off this different mountain. 10 Commandments Part 2. Yeah, I don't know.
The 11th commandment.
Right. Thou shalt not make sequels. All right, what do you got for me?
All right, so Black Panther actually just broke 1 million not too long ago worldwide. And then A Wrinkle in Time actually claimed the #2 spot this weekend for just a historic weekend for black films. This is just kind of mind-blowing for me. My daughter and my wife actually went to go see A Wrinkle in Time on Friday, so they went to go see it when it came out. I have yet to see it, but it's gotten pretty good reviews. It's the #2 movie this weekend, but behind Black Panther. And I just think it's absolutely incredible that this is happening at this time. Like it's nothing I would have ever expected or imagined. So it's just a fantastic time for me to be living in to see this kind of stuff. And I just think it just goes to show that, these type of films can be done, can be successful. So let's push out, more of this. And it doesn't just have to be, the Black Panther and an all black cast. Let's start diversifying just all of Hollywood. It just shows you that you can make these kind of movies. You can have a movie that's run, just the whole thing is all women. It can be done. You can have an all black cast. It can be done and be successful. Just this has the potential to actually change Hollywood and just diversify it more. And I think that it's fantastic.
Have you seen the musical Hamilton?
I have not. I've been trying to get tickets. It's so hard to get tickets for that.
Dude, get on that ham for ham lottery and just keep.
We've been doing that. We've been doing
have
that.
You?
And just
Okay.
have not gotten lucky yet.
So we went and saw it in Chicago back in October, and we actually got tickets because it's coming to Salt Lake in April. And so we're going to get to go see them again. And here's something I really love about the musical Hamilton. I think it kind of goes with what you're saying, is that Hamilton is a story about a bunch of the men and a few of the women at the time of the Revolutionary War, right?
Yep.
It starts, about 1775, 1776 and goes through the late 1890s. And it tells the story of Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton, very white dude. I mean, he comes from the Caribbean, but he's very white. George Washington, very white. I mean, the whole cast of characters that's being portrayed in this, they're all old white men, basically, right? Mm-hmm. But what I love, though, is that Lin-Manuel Miranda says, we're telling this story with hip hop and with rap music, and we're making it fresh and we're making it now and setting, so we're going to have it, kind of couched in something that's more contemporary today. And so the entire cast is diverse. So, you've got Puerto Ricans, you've got black people, you've got Hispanic people, you've got, women of color playing, everything. And what I love is that we live in a time and day and age where that didn't matter. Like, I saw it and it was just a beautiful musical. Mm-hmm. The music is just fantastic. And the fact that people of color, that we could have a diverse cast representing these old men from, hundreds of years ago, didn't matter. There was no qualm there. So I am totally down with having more diversity, more women, bigger projects. Everyone talked about Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was great. Obviously it was a big female centric lead, mm-hmm. a female director. But I mean, Black Panther, you've got a male superhero, black male superhero as the lead, a pretty much all black cast set in Africa with a black director. And this thing just crossed $1 billion.
Right.
That's amazing. And I'm glad that we live in a time where that can happen. And not to knock other genres, but we need to move away from the Medea movies. No offense.
No, man, I'm none taken because I feel the same way.
We need to move away from that stuff and get into more, because there's so many great stories that can be told, right? Mm-hmm. Why can't we make quality of everything? With diverse casts, black, white, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Martians, aliens, I don't care, whatever it is, right. Chinese. I don't know why Chinese I put after Martians and aliens. In no particular order, let me just say that. But that is awesome, though, that, at the tail end of February going into March, that Black Panther and A Wrinkle in Time are doing so well.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this a little while ago. Maybe you and I talked about this on OT, that Black Panther's probably going to be pumping out some bucks for Marvel still for quite a while to come, I would imagine.
Absolutely. It definitely, it doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
Right.
Which
is good.
It's funny because, I know a lot of people who are going to see it for their second and third time this weekend, or people who are seeing it for the first time this week. Like, it's not slowing down any point in time. Like, it's still going. I mean, it was still number one this weekend, which is just crazy. Yeah. And I know as soon as it comes out on video, everybody's buying that as well. So it's not slowing down anytime soon. It's really, really refreshing to see that and know that we're in a time where something like that can be possible. And hopefully, prayerfully, it opens the door to more of this type of stuff.
Yes. Amen. I'm with you there. So here's something like we had, I don't know, Steve and I talked about it a little while ago, but there's all this, unfortunately, there's all these, how to put this? There's all these people, predominantly men in Hollywood, that have been abusing positions of authority, right? They've been doing some very unspeakable, unmentionable things that I don't want to get a ton into. But one of my favorite shows right now is Stranger Things on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Love that show. And just recently, there's been a former employee. His name is Peyton Brown. He was a member of the production crew who's gone on to Instagram and basically started alleging that the Duffer Brothers, who created Stranger Things, like, were verbally abusing women, like yelling at women on the set, and and he came out with this news on the National Women's Day, which was last Thursday, and basically just accusing them of this. And of course, anytime something like this happens, like, we almost automatically now expect, like, Netflix or whoever, ABC, CBS, whoever's the company that's producing the show, to, like, immediately look into it. And you hear a lot of times, like, people being fired, like, within hours of allegations. But apparently Netflix said that they looked into it and they just kind of said, no, these are just kind of, some tensions and things that kind of happen on set. The Duffer Brothers, like, came out and apologized, and they said basically, like, it had nothing to do with them being in positions of authority, but that sometimes part of the production process is that, there's disagreements, it's high stress, you're trying to get things done. And that they basically said, like, we apologize for, any tempers occasionally flaring up. We don't want to mischaracterize our set. We believe strongly in treating everyone fairly, regardless of gender, orientation, race, religion, or anything else. We remain totally committed to providing a safe and collaborative working environment for everyone on our productions. And Netflix basically said, like, hey, we're good. We're moving forward. Right. Nothing's happening there. But it is interesting, though, that I feel like, and I just feel like that there's this thing where we're maybe becoming overly hypersensitive a little bit to things like disagreements or, someone losing their temper and yelling. Is that someone abusing their position? Maybe. I'm not there, so I can't for sure say. But I mean, we also have to understand that we're all human and we can lose our tempers and that we can have disagreements. And if you work in a high pressure setting, that can happen from time to time.
Yeah. I mean, reading through this, it's just so hard to be like, well, what happened? Because like you said, it could have easily been a disagreement. It could have just been a heated exchange. And there's nothing wrong with that. That happens. People are going to disagree. Voices will be raised. I mean, it says that they personally witnessed them seeking them out and verbally abusing them. But if you have to go talk to somebody who's like on set that you have to have a discussion with, of course you're going to seek them out, right? You got to go find them. Right. And then if you guys don't agree and it becomes just like a verbal fight, like, is that abuse? This is one of those where it's so difficult to say, did they push the line? Was it actually verbal abuse or was it just an argument? And not being there's no way to really know this.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where it's so hard. And like you said, are we just becoming hypersensitive to now where anytime there's even an argument or you happen to catch out of the corner of your eye, like people yelling or emoting in a way at somebody that looks like it could be abuse? Is that abuse, or are they just having an argument? It's it's tough, and this just happens to be the time that we live in, you know?
Yeah, I kind of look at it like this, right? Is that if there's obvious things that are going on, or or someone themselves are claiming this happened, like that needs to be looked into immediately. Like
Right.
that needs to be taken care of immediately. But when it's someone else that was saying like, well, I was on set and I witnessed this, but they weren't maybe like right there, or maybe like right in the mix of it, they don't know what was going on, or they were just kind of seeing it from afar. That becomes then a he said, she said, right?
Right.
And so if someone comes out and says, yes, the Duffer Brothers, were verbally abusing me and and makes that sort of allegation, and that person was the person that was involved, then I think that lends a little more credence to it. Not saying that it didn't happen before, but I'm saying like that would be a little stronger of a case. But I also get a little worried when I see people post things and they're like, well, since it's on this particular day, now I feel it's the time that I should come out with it. It's like,
Right.
what about see something, say something, right?
You couldn't do it right then and there. I mean, how long ago was that filmed? And you waited till now to say that you saw something? Not that you were involved in it or that you know exactly what happened, but you saw what you thought was verbal abuse. And it could have been anything. Yeah. It's just, I feel like you said, it's just like, are we hypersensitive to this? And then why would you choose this day instead of doing it right then and there and stopping it? Like if you felt like this was so egregious, step in and stop it right then and there.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. But hopefully everything's okay. Hopefully this whole, little blow up, whatever it is, blows over and everyone's okay. But if not, and there is something there, I hope that the people that are involved step up and, call it out for what it is, and let's move on, right? Let's have some honest to God conversations in this country about things that matter, and let's fix things and move on, and let's not just, get petty about it and be like, well, I heard one time and I'm on Twitter now, so let's get some, some eyeballs on the tweet.
Right.
So
yeah, let's get some solutions instead of just pointing fingers.
Yep, I agree with you.
All right, so moving on. I don't know if you saw this, but or I'm sure you did. This week, Kevin Feige, the head honcho for Marvel Studios right now, he gave all the updates he could about Black Panther 2 coming, and also like Captain Marvel, and kind of just like a few more little tidbits of where the MCU is going. We're definitely going to get a Black Panther sequel. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was just a given.
Obvious.
Like I don't. That was for sure coming. But I think the more interesting stuff is the possibility of Black Panther spinoffs and him saying that, this is something we could do, talking about the Dora Milaje, and Shuri possibly having their own type of movie, or he even mentioned like a sequel with Okoye, which I think would be crazy. Just following her adventures.
What do you think a Shuri spinoff would be?
See, there's so much speculation about what her character could become in the MCU. Just thinking about where they're at currently in the comic books, where there is a female who is Iron Man. Right. And just, we know Robert Downey Jr. at some point is not going to be able to play Iron Man.
Right.
So the spinoff could be her taking over like the whole, like the stuff that Tony Stark does. She could easily replace him in that role, and possibly.
Could you imagine one of Iron Man's suits made out of vibranium?
Oh my God, that's cheating.
That'd be unstoppable, right?
It's cheating.
It's too easy.
Well, wasn't there a comic book arc where he was like a perfect Iron Man or something? I forgot what it was called, but it was made out of something else. It wasn't the Extremis, but it was basically like a perfected Iron Man suit.
Right.
That feels like what vibranium would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, continuing on. So yeah, we have the possibility of Black Panther spinoffs. They kind of mentioned X-Men and Fantastic Four, like they're available now, but they want to wrap up this particular arc of the MCU. It's funny, they were talking about the Avengers, the fourth one being the 22nd movie, kind of like a season arc. You got 22 episodes, and that kind of is going to cap off like this season almost of Marvel movies, which is crazy because we've all been doing the phases, but then come to see that they've actually been looking at it as a season, which I just was mind blowing to me when I read that, and just all the implications that could lead into.
So let me ask you a question, because I think you and I are probably going to think the same, but I'm curious. Fantastic Four, I can see them fairly easily pulling them into the MCU. I mean, they're going to have to recast. That's for sure. Otherwise you got the Human Torch as Captain America, and that's a little weird.
Or the Human Torch as Killmonger.
Right, exactly. That's the other one. But I can see them bringing in the Fantastic Four fairly easy.
Yeah.
I have a hard time seeing how they're going to try to introduce the X-Men in now, only because we've got so many X-Men movies, and do you recast those? I would think you would almost have to, but B, how do you try to explain, well, we've got superheroes that have powers, but now we also have mutants, because the MCU really has had to stay away from using the term mutants altogether. Do you think that that's a possibility, that they're going to try to find a way to merge the two, or do you think they're going to keep them separate?
You know, it's tough to say. Like, I would love to see the X-Men in Marvel, like actually part of the MCU, bring those characters in, because to have them separate to me almost feels wrong. Like, they all exist for the most part in New York, which is just crazy. It's like, okay, where have the X-Men been all this time? But it could also be, you know, we've had all these super powered people, and now, you know, we're coming on the mutant epidemic. It could be something where they tie it in that way, to where now all of a sudden we're finding about these people who now have mutant abilities. So it could be something like that where they tie it in. You definitely would have to recast. I mean, I
have to. Personally,
I don't like most of the X-Men casting as it is, so I'm fine recasting pretty much everything except for Professor X. Just keep him as Sir Patrick Stewart. Just leave him, let him be Professor X until he's gone.
So I'm with you there, but I'd also keep Magneto, and I'd also keep Wolverine. Those three, to me, I'm like, I think those castings are perfect. If you could keep all three, great. Recast everyone else, I'm fine.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I always said that I would have preferred to have Dolph Lundgren as Magneto, just because I feel like Magneto needs to be a little bit bigger, a little bit younger, a little more yoked, because Magneto is not a little dude. Wolverine, that's a tough one. Wolverine for me is like the most difficult one, because like he's also really old, but he's still yoked. Like, he can still play the character.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine him wanting to come back for another run as Wolverine in the MCU.
He did say, though, Hugh Jackman did say that if the MCU would call, he'd be interested.
Oh, well then shoot.
Because he has said previously that, like, Logan was his last film, and then they got word that, you know, the sale could happen. He's like, well, if the MCU comes knocking, I'd be interested in doing that. And I heard that little tidbit, and like part of me is just like, my heart like fluttered. I'm like, yes, please, yes. However, Hugh Jackman is getting older. How long can he play that role?
Right. I mean, and they could do something where he goes into Old Man Logan and we bring in like X-23 or, I mean, there's so many routes they could go with it. I mean, there's so much story in Marvel. I mean, there's any number of routes they could go. So it's definitely a possibility. It would be difficult, I feel like, to tie it all together, and then you still have Spider-Man. Like, you still have so many properties to also find a way to start a new arc that brings in Fantastic Four and the X-Men. I mean, that could be the tipping off point of basically like a season 2 of the MCU, where we start with Fantastic Four, we start with the X-Men and get those stories out and how they, you know, tie into the MCU. So that could be something that they do.
Sure. Did you have anything else that Kevin Feige gave us? Is there anything else we need to know?
Just a little tidbit on Captain Marvel. I when I was reading what they're doing with this, and I guess it's kind of spoilery. I don't know. We haven't really heard much about Captain Marvel, but he was talking about how Samuel L. Jackson, we've seen his character as Nick Fury, and how he's already has known about the characters. Like, as he started the Avengers initiative and was going around, he's known all of you exist. Now I'm going to try to bring you together. And they're saying that Captain Marvel is going to be like the story of him coming across, like the first one, coming across Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. And it's going to be more of like a 90s action film, where this is the first one he came across, and this would give him the idea for the Avengers initiative. So I think that's pretty interesting. And I cannot wait to see what they do with that, because she's a very interesting character when you look at like what she means to just Marvel in general. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, and then how that could tie into the X-Men with Rogue. So
yeah, No, that's cool. That's interesting though. Does that mean we're gonna get Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury coming back for that movie?
That's what it sounds like. We haven't seen him in a while. I think when's the last time we saw him?
Civil War.
Civil War, yeah.
Civil War was the last time I was like, man, we're missing some Nick Fury. I love his character in that. Plus Samuel L. Jackson's just, man,
yeah,
he's just bad A. Just bad A. Everything he's in. So here's something off kind of the Marvel, but yet still kind of in that Disney realm now. Yeah. Just this last week, on Thursday, Lucasfilm announced that they're going to be doing a live-action Star Wars show, and Jon Favreau is going to be writing this thing, and possibly, I think, also directing it. Mm-hmm. I like Jon Favreau's stuff a lot. I mean, obviously... I remember when the first Iron Man movie came out, he did the first Iron Man. And at the time I was like, the guy from Swingers, he's going to be the guy doing this? I'm like, really? But of course that movie was phenomenal and he's done a lot of good stuff. I was really excited. You remember a few years back ago, Lucasfilm was talking about doing a Bounty Hunters TV show. It was going to kind of focus on kind of like the seedier underbelly of the galaxy. And I was super excited for that. I was like, yes, this could be really cool. But then it kind of never panned out. There was a video game called, I think, Star Wars 1313 that was going to be done.
1313. Oh.
That thing looked really good. The stills that we got for it, just so amazing. And then that doesn't happen. And so we're kind of at this era right now where Star Wars Rebels has just wrapped up on the Disney XD channel. And we've got these movies and we've got these like solo anthology movies that are coming out now. So we're getting something every year. Clone Wars is done, so we need something, right, in the kind of TV realm. And so what I'm imagining is that I'm thinking that Lucasfilm and Disney is hoping, and this is just my thought, but hoping that they can get a Star Wars TV universe going, similar to the way Marvel has their Netflix kind of TV universe going, where they can tell other stories and have some other characters that maybe aren't as big and important as the main ones that's going to be the films, but that it's still like very popular and getting a lot of, interest and a lot of eyeballs on it. And so I'm hoping that that's kind of what they're trying to do. Because if we could get something that's going to be continuing on and Jon Favreau can write story arcs amongst, seasons or, spin-offs or whatever and kind of have everything kind of work together like Netflix did with, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Daredevil all kind of, melding into the Defenders, which is kind of the same things that the movies did with Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, Thor, everyone coming together for the Avengers. That's what I want to see, but I just want to see it small scale on the TV. What do you think? I mean, do you think that's what they're going to do, or do you think it's like something completely different?
Now that you mentioned, I think that would be great. It's just, for me, I look at this and I'm just like, okay, so what stories are you going to tell? Like, are we going to be going back? Are we going to be trying to have stuff to lead into like the next trilogy? Like, where do you go with Star Wars? Star Wars has so much story there. There's so many places they could go. And it's like, do you want to do something like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or like the Netflix series where it's tied into everything, but also apart? It's just, it's hard to imagine where they would go with this. I would love to have something that deals with like the seedier underbelly. Like if we could get the 1313 and kind of see something like that. That is what I would want to see. But where they're going to go with it, it's so hard to tell. And I'm almost kind of feeling like I have a Star Wars fatigue. So when I first saw this, I was like, I think I need a Star Wars break.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. I mean, personally, I don't think I would ever say that just because of my love for Star Wars. But I get that, right? I mean, we're getting a movie every year now. I mean, we went years and years and years and years without anything.
Right.
It was just books. And, these are all, non-canonized books now that are kind of the expanded universe. That now they're called like Disney or Star Wars Legends, I think is what they're calling them now. It's silly. But like that's all you had. So like you had to make up your own stories and there's fan fiction. And then bang, the prequels came out and that was so rough.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I would rather wait. Let's do, good movies. And now we're getting good movies, but we're starting to get them just one after another, after another, after another.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know why that sounds like, complaining, but like, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?
Yeah.
That old saying, that old chestnut. If we had to wait a couple of years, if it was a 5-year delay, that might be better.
Yeah.
But
I think for me, it's just the fact that Solo for some reason just does not interest me. Like, I'm going to go see it because it's Star Wars and I love Star Wars, but I'm really just going to see Lando. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is not a story we need to be told. I would have much rather gotten an Obi-Wan movie. I feel like that would have made more sense. Like, I want to see where did he go? I don't really need to know where Han came from. Like, I know what he did. I'm good. Unless they were going to talk, unless we get like, well, I'm sure we will, like how he got Chewie. Like, tell me that story. That's a story I want to tell. But I feel like that could have been a TV show. Like,
see, and I know that story from the old EU stories, and it's like, if they stick to that, I think that story A is really compelling, and B would like be such a nod to the fans because Star Wars Rebels has brought in some characters from the EU that doesn't exist anymore. So now they're canonized as real characters. So like, I want Solo to be good. I really want Solo to be good, but I'm with you. It's kind of one of those like, how much of the backstory are we going to get? Is it going to change anything? Is it really going to be feeling like we're getting enough? Like Rogue One, I questioned how good that was going to be. And then Rogue One happened and I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was a great story and it tied in and it gave a deeper appreciation to Episode 4, A New Hope, without having to change anything.
Yep. I always say that Rogue One was the Episode 3 we deserved.
Yes. Yes. That's a perfect way to put it. So Jon Favreau, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, we're behind you, buddy. We want you to do well, but man, let's get some good quality stories in there and let's make it awesome. Yeah.
Pull from the expanded stuff that there's a lot that you can take there and kind of make your own, but bring in some of those characters and I think it would be great.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's do it, man.
All right.
I'm sure he listens to this, by the way.
Absolutely, of course he does.
Yeah. All right, what else you got for me?
All right, so moving into some video game news, we had a Nintendo Direct. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I am not the biggest Nintendo fan.
Really?
Yeah, I just, Nintendo. I grew up with Nintendo, so I've got a lot of love from there, but currently I don't look at what they do for the most part. I don't have a Switch. I don't plan on getting a Switch, but whatever. So
have you played the Switch yet?
I have played the Switch.
Okay.
But
what did you play on it? Was it anything
Breath
good?
of the Wild. I played Breath of the Wild on it, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. I could get into this." But there's not anything else in the system that I really want to play to bring me in, which leads into this Direct.
Let me tell you though, that Mario Odyssey, that game's pretty awesome.
I believe it. I'm never gonna.
It's
play
good.
It.
It's one of those things that like if you really love Mario games, it's right up your alley. If you're kind of okay with Mario games, it's still a really good game. But if you don't like platformers and you don't like Mario, it's not for you.
Then it's not for me because I don't like platformers and I haven't been a Mario fan. Let's put it this way. When I got my Super Nintendo, I made sure to get the control set so I didn't get Super Mario World.
Gotcha. Yep.
But,
I'm with you.
Let's roll right into this Direct. So they had a Direct, and I've heard that it's one of the best Directs that they've had so far. And we're going to talk about just a couple of the biggest announcements. First and foremost, Smash is coming. Now, I know a lot of people have been waiting for Smash, and they were shocked that it took this long to even say anything about it, but they're finally getting a Smash Brothers on the Switch, which I think is going to be incredible. People love Smash. Smash is like, it's everything. So
I suck at it, but I love it. I'm horrible.
I was good at it back on N64. Like, I haven't played it really since then. I've played a couple of the other Smashes, but I loved it on N64. Like, it was a great time. Plug in, get all your boys. We got the split screen going. Everybody's got their own controller. Let's go. Let's brawl it out. So I feel like this is going to do that as well. You're going to get a lot. This is going to probably lead into like their whole online service, and we're going to be able to get
for sure
really good Switch all over the place. So I know a lot of people are going to be really, really excited about that. So good for Smash. Splatoon is actually getting some story DLC. I don't think anybody really expected that.
No, not at all.
So they're getting a single player expansion. I guess it's called Octo, which is going to feature Special Agent Octoling, who's unraveling mysteries of Inkopolis. So I think that's cool that they're actually doubling down on Splatoon, and it's a thing. Like, this is a franchise that they are backing. And the fact that you're getting some more single player like story DLC, I think that's great. And I'm sure it's going to sell like hotcakes because people seem to really enjoy Splatoon. It's like
it's fun.
Yeah. It's something it's a shooter on the Switch. You know, people really enjoy it. It's got that Nintendo feel. So I think that's awesome that they're doubling down on that. And like, we're not backing off this. This is a thing. So that's awesome. And you guys are getting some ports. I could not believe when I saw Crash Bandicoot was coming to Nintendo. Like,
that is like, nuts.
Really? You're putting Crash on Nintendo? So I'm just waiting for them to do us a favor and put Link on PlayStation. So come on.
See, here's what I look at this, right? If we're getting Naughty Dog titles now, even though it's old Naughty Dog, is there a possibility that we could get the Uncharted series ported over?
Now, see, it is an old Naughty Dog, but I think Crash still belongs to Activision.
Still, it's a Naughty Dog game to me, man. I'm holding on to hope here. It's like The Last of Us on Switch. Not that I haven't played that game like 4 times already, right? But
yeah,
I mean, that's a crazy port. Like, because obviously when they did the remaster of the Crash Bandicoot games, like, people that were big fans of that in the old PS1 era, like, went out and flocked to go get that on the PS4. I mean, just drove out to go get that thing. So the fact that it's coming to Switch, that's pretty cool because you're going to open up your market wider, be able to sell more, and I'm guessing that actually porting it over wasn't going to be that hard to do.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I had a lot of friends who grew up and Crash was like their Mario, and he was like, "Oh my god, I got to get this." I'm like, "Really?
Right.
You're really about to go get Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy?" He was like, "Yeah, man, I got to get it first day." So I think it's great that they're porting that over to Switch to just grow that market and have something else for, you know, Switch players that is just not just a Nintendo game. So I think that's awesome. They're also putting Okami over there and Undertale. I know a lot of people are really excited about Undertale coming to the Switch, so I think that's great. Just keep the ports coming. I mean, there's plenty you can put on that system, and being able to take a lot of these games portably, I know, is a huge deal for people.
So my thing is, like, I look at the Switch and I go, first of all, it's made a killing, right? It's made a ton of money. It's selling like crazy in its first year, now rolling into its second year. But like, look at it this way. The first year, right off the bat, Zelda, probably one of their biggest IPs they have. Then they followed up later in the year. Well, then they followed up with Splatoon 2, which is like one of their biggest IPs recently, starting on, I think, the Wii U is where that came out. Then they followed up towards the end of last year with Odyssey. So they hit a full-on Mario platformer, and this game is probably as close to as good as Super Mario Galaxy was. And so they hit that big one, and now they're rolling into like year 2, and I know that they're doing Smash, which is a huge IP for them. I believe they're going to release a Metroid game, because I know it's been announced, so a Metroid game is coming.
Metroid Prime 4.
And then now they're coming out with some of the things like Mario Tennis, right?
Yeah.
Like Mario Tennis, for me, that's, in and of itself, tennis games do not interest me one bit. Not one bit. I remember like Top Spin Tennis or whatever it was on the Xbox. I'm like, boo. I don't want to play tennis. This is boring. However, the freaking tennis that was on the Wii originally, like, I don't know what it was about that game, because maybe it was the motion controls and it was all new, but like, we would play that game over and over. And that came on the Wii Sports. It was free. It came with the system. And like, we played that more than we played probably anything on that thing. And so if it's kind of going to have similar control and feel to that, except it's going to be fully fleshed out characters and you're going to be able to compete in tournaments and it's going to be all the Mario characters, like, that's a huge selling point. And then you got all these indies that are coming and all these ports that are coming. Like, I'm telling you that the future of the Switch and the future for Nintendo is really, really bright right now. Whether or not you're a fan or not, like, they're doing a lot of right things, which to me is really interesting only because the Wii U felt like such a backwards misfire that I think a lot of people were writing the company off. They were like, the Wii was a huge success. The Wii U was a horrible dumpster fire of an idea. And then the Switch is like, it's like perfection. Like I love it. I'm playing more on my Switch than I am anything right now.
The Switch is definitely doing everything right. Like I gotta give it to Nintendo, even though it's not a system for me. Like it is doing everything right, and it's like, why wouldn't you make games for this system? People love it. Like they got it right with this one. So bring on the games. Like the fact that you got a Mario game, like an actual fully blown Mario game, within the first year of the system being out, is saying something. You got a Mario and a Zelda game year one. That's huge. That's huge.
I was a little worried, though. I'm gonna admit, I was a little worried that they were gonna go too much right up front, because then it's like, okay, what happens when you get to year 3?
Right.
Because now it's like, are we already talking sequels to existing games, or are they going to start porting? If they start porting other games from the Wii U that were like good titles, just no one played, like Luigi's Haunted Mansion, or if they bring over. If they could, the port they did of Wind Waker, which was originally a GameCube game, but they remastered it for Wii U, if they port that over in like year 3, like that keeps me interested. Like that keeps keeps kicking the can down the road until like year 4, year 5, and then it's like, now we've got a new Zelda and we got a new Mario and whatever.
Yeah, the beauty of Nintendo is they have an insane backlog. So if you can actually remaster a lot of those games that people either barely played or kind of missed out on the Wii U and the Wii, you've got games for days. Like, you can just keep them coming.
Or I said this, a virtual console, or the ability to, like, you know how they did the NES Mini Classic and then they did the SNES Classic, sell all those games on a cart that you can pop into your Switch and play.
That would be flipping genius. That might actually get me to get a Switch.
Dude, do that, because then you could get a ton of backlog of games. And like, there's nothing greater than popping in the original Legend of Zelda. Nope. Even if you're not going to play the whole thing, but just to hear the music and the gameplay, just for a good like 20 minutes, 30 minutes in one sit down, like the nostalgia thing. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, the Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, and Super Metroid are the two games that I've actually gone back to play over and over again. They're the only games that I can say that I've played multiple times through. So, if they were to do something like that, put all those games on a cart and throw it into the Switch, that would make me get a Switch.
At that point, they're just printing money.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing. They're just printing it. They're like, Fort Knox, we don't need it. We're doing fine over here. Yeah. So that's all I had on Rebel Intelligence. Deb, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's about it.
All right. Last week, we had a conversation. Brita joined me. We did our movie club. As you super friends know, every month we try to pick a movie. This time we did 2 movies. It was a doubleheader. We did Cutting Edge and Cool Runnings. We kept it Olympic theme because, of course, the Olympics had just ended. And so our question of the week was, what is your favorite / Olympic or sports movie? So Dev, I'm going to put you on the spot before we read answers. What would you say is your favorite either Olympic or sports movie?
Olympic or sports movie? You know, I'd have to go with Varsity Blues. That is probably my favorite sports movie because I played football in high school. So it came out when I was in high school. So it was one of those things where it's like, oh man, is this what football could be like if we didn't suck here? So it spoke to me. Like it was the football players or cheerleaders, and it just spoke to me in a way that it is always going to be like really, really near and dear to me when it comes to a sports movie.
I always just remember that they had the one really heavy dude in that movie. I can't remember what they called him. They called him like Billy Bob. It's like they called him like Hoss or Big Boy or something like that. Billy Bob, close enough. And I always felt like, I always felt bad for the guy in the movie. Yeah. Because I felt like they just just needlessly picked on the guy. But I haven't seen that movie in a long time. Varsity Blues. Actually, I think the last time I saw maybe any of that movie was when they showed a little clip of it on The Office when they were doing their movie Mondays and they were watching Varsity Blues and Jan comes in from corporate. It's like, you're doing what? Right. Anyway. So we asked our super friends, what's your favorite sports / Olympic or / sports movie? And so here's our responses. I'm going to start as we always do over on the Gmail. Peter Christensen says, "Dear nerds, I love Spencer's new backhanded compliment. I'd see that on Movie Pass." Which is so true, because it's like, I'm not going to pay real money for that, but I'd see it on Movie Pass. Touche, Peter, touche. He says, "Miracle was definitely my favorite Olympics movie. Munich is a grim alternative if you'd rather have vengeance than triumph." Says, I'm looking forward to the movie dramatization of Spencer's future curling career. Because I totally believe, Dev, that I could become a curler.
Hey, I believe it.
I'm just saying that's my Olympic sport. If I could do one, that's the one.
I too would do curling because curling is awesome.
Let's do it, man. Let's form a team.
Let's make it happen.
I'm down. He says, my favorite overall sports movie is Rocky 2. It's a lot more exciting and faster paced than the original, while not being as cartoony as the later movies. Creed was also outstanding and probably the best reboot/remake ever as well. And then he says, happy 2/3 of the way to 100 episodes, Peter Christensen. Thank you, Peter. And by the way, I'm going to go see Creed on your recommendation because after seeing, what was it? Rocky Balboa, I think was the last one I saw. It was more of like a nostalgia film versus like a true kind of boxing film, I felt.
Yeah.
And so I kind of figured that the Creed movie, I was like, Apollo Creed's kid. I mean, what's the next thing? We're going to be going back to Rocky 5 and it's going to be, Rock trying to teach, his kid to box again. I was like, I don't care for that. But Peter Christensen, I do trust his taste in movies most of the time, so I will go see Creed. Have you seen that?
I have not seen Creed. What's sad is I own it, and I haven't seen it yet. My mom buys a lot of movies. I take all her digital copies. So I have it. I just haven't gotten around to watching it because kids take up all my time. And my television.
I hear that. Over on Twitter, let's start off with Nathan Thomas, at Voiced by Nathan. He says, probably still Remember the Titans. I loved that movie. Once again, that movie's reminds me of the early 2000s. That's probably the last time I saw it, but a really, really good movie. Patrick Novacell at Nova Beyond. This is a man after my own heart. Happy Gilmore for sure. It says honorable mentions. He says, I like sports movies. Major League 2. He says, crazy, right? But it's better. It's the better one. Draft Day. Who knew that I'd like a movie about the Browns? Sandlot, You're Killing Me, Smalls, and Days of Thunder. And I just love this because every movie he picked, I either love the movie or I really liked it. But the fact that he has Happy Gilmore, Sandlot, and Days of Thunder,
of all
in the same things, rubbing his racing.
Wow. I haven't seen that movie in so long.
I think that's the only NASCAR movie. Well, no, I take that back. I was going to say that was the only one. But I guess if you include Talladega Nights, the Ballad of Ricky Bobby, I've seen two. I'm the Magic Man. Now you see me, now you don't. Love it. Moving on. Donnie at Playing Nintendo, good old PSVG in the house, says, obvious reasons, #Browns, and he's got a gif of, Draft Day there. Plus, Kevin Costner, he's done a ton of sports movies, and they're all relatively good.
Yeah,
so
this is true.
He said, then Donnie goes on to say, basically all of Costner's movies, Tin Cup, For Love of the Game, Draft Day, Bull Durham, but he didn't include Field of Dreams?
I was going to say, how did you forget,
what?
The one that started it all? Come on.
I'm going to say Field of Dreams is probably Costner's best movie, followed by Dances with Wolves, and then we get back into the other sports stuff with, For the Love of the Game, Bull Durham, Tin Cup, all the rest. But
how did he forget If You Build It, They Will Come? I don't even.
Dude.
How?
But by the way, I do not recommend watching Field of Dreams after your father passes away. I was in a weird place. My dad had passed, and it was maybe 2 months after it. And I don't know why, but I was like, yeah, I'll watch Field of Dreams. I haven't seen that in a long time. I really like that movie. Oh my, I could not finish that movie. And I was like, what was I thinking? This whole movie's about a guy that doesn't have a good relationship with his dad, and all he wants is to be able to connect with his dead father. And I was like, I'm an idiot. What was I thinking?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you did that to yourself.
Man, it was bad. Anyway, no one wants to see a grown man cry. That's all I'm saying. Josh Stapleton at MTTG Street Team, #bum, says, Rocky 4, I will break you. Rocky 3, Rocky 2, in that order. Rocky 5 is an abomination. Now, I look at this and I go, okay, I'm okay with his top 4. I have him in a different order, but I'm agree with him on 5. Rocky 5 is horrid.
Yeah, we like to pretend it doesn't exist.
But I would say for me, it's Rocky 2, Rocky 1, Rocky 4, Rocky 3. That's where I'd put them. Only because, like, the original Rocky, that it's just raw power and emotion in that movie. Even though the boxing almost is, like, secondary. Whereas Rocky 2, man, it's all about that rematch and, you know, coming up and, like, really wanting to take a shot. The first one, he's all just like, I just need to survive, right?
Yep.
Love it. Love the Rockies, Josh, and we grew up watching those, like, a ton. Erica Marie at EIS Fabulous. EIS Fabulous? I'm trying to say how
I think it's E is Fabulous.
E is Fabulous?
Shout out to Erica Marie.
Yeah, there we go. E is Fabulous. That makes a lot more sense. I can math. She says, Cool Runnings and Rocky. I love it. I'm with you there.
I'm sensing a trend here.
Yeah, just a little bit. Animation fan at dspin67 says, remember the Titans, Cool Runnings, Major League, The Sandlot. I know it's a movie about kids, but it's baseball references to the Bambino. You're killing me, Smalls. I'm okay with all those, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Gidget Von LaRue at Gidget Von LaRue says, Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, Raging Bull, Basketball, Rocky, Kingpin, and Rush.
She threw in Kingpin. Wow.
And now Rush, is that the Sylvester Stallone movie where he's a Formula One racer?
I thought that was Drive or Driven.
Oh, maybe that is Driven. You know the one I'm talking about where he's like, where like he throws the
hums,
quarters down on the track, and
I'm pretty sure that's Driven.
And that probably is right. I like though that she hits Bull Durham and Field of Dreams, two of amazing baseball movies. Raging Bull, Raging Bull and Rocky boxing movies. Basketball, a basketball/baseball movie, and then Kingpin, a bowling movie, and Rush. I got nothing there on Rush.
What is Rush?
I thought that was the Sylvester Stallone one. I'm guessing it's a racing movie. It's got to be, right?
It's a Formula One movie. You were right about that part, but it wasn't the one with
Oh, is that the newest one that came out with I was gonna say Heath Ledger, but that's not who I'm thinking.
Chris Hemsworth in it.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. Why did I think Heath Ledger when it's Chris Hemsworth? Maybe the Point Break look between the two?
Yeah, that's probably about it. 'Cause I'm looking at him. Yeah, he looks very Point Breakish. He could definitely be a surfer instead of a Formula One racer.
Strongest Avenger. Beep, 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 beep. World's Strongest Avenger. Beep, beep, beep. Point Break. Accepted. I love that's my favorite joke in the whole movie. Just absolutely kills it. Little hashtag Thor Ragnarok there.
That movie is so good.
So good. Okay, going over to Fortress of Nerditude. Paul Calicote. What's up, Paul? Says, okay, I got a few oldies. The Sandlot. Of course, Mighty Ducks. Cool Runnings. A League of Their Own. Angels in the Outfield. Rookie of the Year, and Major League, just to name a few. And then he says, wow, most of these movies are about baseball, the old American game. Anyway, keep up the good work, my man. Else time, Paul Calico. I'm sensing a big trend. It seems like boxing movies with the Rockies and baseball movies are the big ones.
Yeah.
Not a lot of football movies.
I can only think of like 3 or 4 actual football movies outside of like the 2 that have been named the most. I mean, you've got like The Program, and you've got
Any Given Sunday.
But I can't think of any outside.
Oh no! Someone else gave me another answer, and I don't know where it was. Someone else said The Replacements.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
And that wasn't there. That was like literally, I think, the second DVD I ever bought. So I'm in college, and I was taking out student loan money to pay for college, and I had a little bit of cash left over after getting that. And I was like, man, I'm going to go buy a DVD player. It was $280, by the way, which was a lot of money back in the day.
It was when you could
it was a
PS2.
Right? Yeah. So I go in and get this DVD player, and we had a roommate who was like 18 years old. He's like, hey, man, if you're going to buy movies, don't get that Charlie's Angels movie. I was like, why? And he's like, dude, it sucked. It's nothing like the TV show. It's just a bunch of girls in bikinis, and it has nothing to do like the TV show. So my first DVD was Charlie's Angels. And then I followed it up with The Replacements, and I came back home with both of those. And both were good calls, but yeah, I can vividly remember my first CD I ever purchased was Boyz II Men, Cooley High Harmony.
Oh, nice.
And my first DVD was Charlie's Angels.
Nice. I've been racking my brain forever trying to remember my first CD, and I cannot remember it for the life of me. But my first DVD was The Matrix.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. It's like someone said, like, hey, my first was Braveheart or something like that. I'm like, yeah, yeah. But it's when people are like, yeah, my first DVD was like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I'm like, oh, wait, why did you get a DVD of like a movie from the 1960s, like a Disney? Why wouldn't you get something that would like show off the capability of a DVD player?
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of other football movies because I know like if I'm, like The Longest Yard.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
What's the one they're in prison?
That's Longest Yard.
Longest Yard. Is there another one? Does that have The Rock in it? Didn't The Rock do a prison? It was a football movie where he was in prison, or he was working with working with kids or something. I don't know.
Oh, was that the one where he ended up kind of like doing like the Mr. Nanny thing, like where he's like trying to like scout like the kids, and it was more of a comedy, but he was a football star?
Maybe. I'm not
sure.
Maybe
that's called like the Gridiron or something.
Gridiron Gang or something, I think. Oh,
yeah, something like that. Now you got to look it up, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Super Friends, for answering our question of the week. We always appreciate every time you take a little bit of your time to answer us. Once again, we'll always ask the question of the week, and we'll put it out in the normal places. Twitter, which is @FortiveNerd. Facebook, which is facebook.com/FortiveNerd. You can reach us by email, fortinerd@gmail.com, or by phone. We've got that old voicemail, 801-477-7687. And don't forget, you can always go on to the old iTunes and give us a 2 thumbs up, 5-star rating. And by doing that, it's a simple act, but a small child is going to be fed in Wakanda tonight if you do that. And it'll make it so that the Fortress of Nerditude isn't as hard to find as some lost vibranium out of Wakanda.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda, #Wakanda forever. So Dev, I got a question for you, and I know this is probably right up your alley. In the last, I'd say probably 2 decades, we've seen a massive resurgence in superhero movies. I mean, we got the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, and then we had the original kind of X-Men movies that came out like right around the same time, like 1999, 2000, 2001, right around there. And from that point, like now we're getting to Avengers Infinity War, which comes out in just like literally like 5-6 weeks. And that's been a culmination of an arc of, 10 years that's been building. So here's my question. Why do you think superhero movies and just superheroes in general, like the comics, why do you think they're so popular right now?
I think part of it, is just the fact that it's our age that is going to a lot of these movies. So it's kind of like we're kind of seeing our childhood come together. You've also got people my parents' age where you have like what they call the golden age of comics,
right?
Where they read a lot of that. So you've got a lot of people who have grown up with comics and they're finally able to see like this fantastic stuff being able to come alive on film where it doesn't look terrible, where it's not bad, it's not terrible, it's really, really good. And then it also like this is something that kids can enjoy because it's family friendly as well. So you're able to hit on so many different markets to really be able to reel people in, because now it's not just, us nerds going to see a movie. It's like a family thing. Like you take your kids, your mom and dad are also going to go see these movies. Like it's a thing where it's not just hitting on one genre of people going to go see these movies. It kind of encompasses everybody. So I think that's a major reason as to why the comic book movies are such a draw, because you've got all walks of life, all ages that can enjoy these movies and have grown up with them in some way, shape, or form.
So I was kind of thinking about this because over the weekend, my youngest Jackson, he's getting ready to turn 4, and we were at Walmart and we saw these big kind of like vinyl stickers of like the Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man and Iron Man you can put on the walls, and he said he wanted the Incredible Hulk. And so, of course, we stick that up on his wall, and that makes me happy because Hulk and Spider-Man are 2 of my favorite Marvel characters. And so Charlie wanted Spider-Man, Jackson wanted Hulk. I'm like, yes. I mean, I tried to kind of steer him away from the Thor because the Thor didn't look like Point Break. It didn't look like Hemsworth. So I was like, let's stick to these characters. But, as I'm putting them up on their wall, my little boy Jackson says, Daddy, I want to put this sticker on your truck. And so it's this. So on the back of my truck now I have a Hulk sticker and a Spider-Man sticker, because then Charlie wanted to, of course, put something on the back of my truck. And I'm not usually one for like adorning my truck. I've got a Harley Davidson sticker because I ride a Harley, and then I've got kind of like a bumper sticker that's on my back window of my truck because it's my name Krypton, which is my nickname in my club. And so that's on there. It's got my kind of club logo on it. But Jackson puts this picture, and it's a picture of kind of a silhouette of Bruce Banner, like growing into the Hulk. And it says something like, like release your rage or something like that, or release the rage. And then Charlie had just a little one. It was like a little, like Spider-Man Patrol or something like that I put on this. But then Jackson says, Daddy, who's that man that the Hulk is going to beat up? And so he didn't understand. So I kind of had to explain to him, well, Bruce Banner's a scientist's son, and Bruce Banner was doing some experiments, and an experiment went wrong, and he got zapped with some radiation, and radiation's really bad for you, can hurt you. But instead, it turned Bruce Banner into something different. So when he gets angry, he grows really big and strong, and he turns green, and he becomes the Hulk. And as long as he's angry, he's the Hulk, and he's really, really, really strong, and he can, beat up all the bad guys. But when he calms back down, he turns back into Bruce Banner again. He turns back into the scientist. And so my little boy is, like I said, he's getting ready to turn 4 here in just a couple of weeks. And he goes, "Oh, okay, Daddy," like super matter of fact, like we're cool. And then the next day he goes, "Daddy, can you tell me the Hulk story again?" And he wanted to hear this again. And so as I've told him now this story like 3 or 4 times, I started realizing that I think if you go way back, right, the Greeks and the Romans had these stories of these gods, these people like, Hercules and Zeus and, all the, Aphrodite and Medusa and all these other things where they had these legends of these like superhumans. They had, these powers or these abilities, and they used them to teach morals and teach stories. Like, we don't do that anymore. Like, we don't talk necessarily about the Greek and Roman gods. However, especially here in America, because comic books are really rooted in American culture from where they began to where they are now. I mean, obviously they're worldwide, but it's really an American thing. It's almost like the American version, the modern version of the Greek and Roman gods, right? Because we tell these stories about these superhuman, individuals that are bestowed, this is the Spider-Man line, right? With great power comes great responsibility, right? How can you not get away from Uncle Ben, right? But we use these now, and like, they're on everything. Like they obviously started in the comics, but now they're on like lunch boxes and pajamas, and like Jackson's wearing Flash pajamas tonight.
Nice.
He's never seen the Flash. He's never seen the TV show. He's never seen the Flash in a movie. He's never seen a cartoon with the Flash. He's can't read. He's never read a comic book with the Flash, but he knows that the Flash runs really, really, really fast, and he does good stuff. And so my son wants to be the Flash. He has Flash underwear. He has a Flash t-shirt. He made me buy a Flash t-shirt this weekend.
Awesome.
Because he loves the Flash so much. And so what do you think, why do you think we are so fascinated with these characters that not only us, our generation kind of grew up on this, that like we also want to imprint that onto our children? Why do you think we keep telling these stories, or why we're so enthralled by them?
It's the fantasticness of it. It's being able to do more, be awesome, be superheroes, My son is the same way. Like he's 2. He's never seen the Hulk, but he knows
right?
He knows Hulk smash. He's in Hulk pajamas tonight. And
nice.
it's just the fantasticness of it. Like my daughter is enamored with like Iron Man and Captain America whenever she sees them. She's never seen any of the movies, but she knows the characters because they're fantastic. That, like you said, they're like the gods. They've got these special powers. They do good, and there's something to aspire to. They can they're used to teach stories. Like you can teach, morals and how to make good decisions and stuff. Like when you think about like Captain America, he's supposed to be what embodies all of the goodness, So
right.
It's like that. It's the fantasticness of it. It's something that you can kind of latch on to and you can teach to your kids, and it's something that you enjoy, that they enjoy, but it can also be used to, tell stories and teach morals and learn from and things. So it's just something that's ingrained in us now. And like you said, it's something we grew up with, and we want to imprint those things on our kids because typically, when you're really involved with your kids and you have things that you like, you want to be able to see if they like them too and get them into those things. And it's the hot ticket right now. So
Right.
why not?
Yeah. So something else I was kind of looking at, because I'm a big Superman fan. Like, I've loved Superman since I could probably was wearing Superman underoos since, the 1978 Superman movie. I mean, I've got Superman with me all the time. I love Superman, but I started going back and I've done a bunch of research and read a bunch of stuff. Like, Superman was created like in the 1930s. It was, in the middle of the Depression when the country was just in a bad place. And so, Joel Shuster and Jerry Siegel wrote this character of this, this superhuman, this man who has all these powers and all these abilities, and he uses them for good, like little things, right? Like, getting a kitten out of a tree for someone, helping, repair bridges or railways that are broken. And it was this neat thing where he was a symbol of hope in that time and in that generation. And then you got like Captain America was obviously a huge symbol of hope, especially of American pride during World War II. Same thing kind of with Wonder Woman at the same time on the DC side. But like Captain America, like famously, there's a comic book cover of him punching Hitler.
Yep.
Right. And it was the whole idea of like, we're going to go to war and we're going to win. It's like, we're going to have optimism and hope. And like right now, while we're still, while we're still like not like in a place like the Great Depression or World War II, there's a lot of reasons if you want to find them out in the world that things are like down and depressing and things that, just can break your heart if you let it. And, you look at things, there's so much negativity out there, but I like the idea that like comic book characters, the superheroes, the movies, the tie-in TV shows are doing so well right now because people want hope.
Yep.
And with all the negativity and all the bad things going on in, school shootings and bombings and murders and, ISIS and, inequality for women and, people of color and, all the, poor people that are just, struggling in poverty, that everyone can rally behind a superhero, right? Someone that they can identify with, someone that to them represents maybe an ideal that they're striving for, or maybe something that they want to see changed in the world, right? Because Superman, truth, justice, and the American way, right? You see Superman, and while he may not be as nuanced and subtle as someone like Batman, that character, like, he's the shining pillar, the example of like hope. We want better. We want to see better for mankind, and he wants to do better and wants to see better mankind. Is trying to like help shepherd us that way. And so I think that's also maybe a big thing into why these movies and characters are resonating so much today. I mean, like you were talking about with Black Panther, right? Like that movie obviously has just crossed $1 billion. That movie's resonating with a lot of people, and it's not just people that are black. It's resonating with everyone.
Absolutely.
And why is that, right?
Because it's just a great film, and it like you said, it gives you a sense of hope and a sense of pride that we can be better as people.
Yes.
Like the last line, spoilers. He says, one tribe. We need to we need to act as though we're one tribe, and that is something that universally worldwide we need to learn to adopt. Like, when it gets down to it, we are all human. We are all wanting better for everyone, So if we can get together and really, just come together for betterment of all peoples, then we can act as one tribe. And that's a very, very hopeful message. And if you get nothing from any of the comic book movies, it's that everybody is banding together to thwart evil for the most part.
Right.
Everybody, like all these movies, they all eventually come together to stop the big bad. So it does give you that sense of hope and that sense like, let's all get together and do this and stop, the bad stuff that's going on.
Do you remember what it was like post 9/11? Like the few days, month, 2 months, 3 months after 9/11, like there was such a sense of like unity in this country that petty disagreements, political disagreements, disagreements with your neighbor, whatever, like none of that mattered. You were like, we got to make things better. We need to do better. We need to work together hand in hand, everyone, right? That whole one tribe mentality, right? And I really hope that when Avengers Infinity War comes, that they really try to capture kind of that emotion of like that moment in time, because we've got a big bad, right? We've got Thanos, the ultimate, kind of evil, the ultimate bad guy that's literally trying to plot the destruction of the planet Earth. And everyone has to pull together. And I really hope that they try to capture in some small way, maybe that emotion, because I think that's a feeling most people can relate to. Because I think there's more that unites humanity and unites people than divides them. And I really want to see that theme just come through shining in that movie. Because that's something, that it becomes a teaching moment for our children, obviously. But it also can be a good moment of reflection for us, for adults, right? Not saying that every Marvel movie has some sort of, wonderful moral, because I can't think of a moral in Thor 2, The Dark World, off the top of my head. No. I'm sure there's something there for someone, but like I think of like Ant-Man, right? Yeah. Like Ant-Man, like is this dad? He's kind of being pulled back into this life that he's kind of trying to stick away with because he's wanting to provide for his daughter, right? He's wanting to make his daughter's life better. And unfortunately, he doesn't have any real solid means of doing that. So it means he's going to turn to some less reputable means, but he's doing that out of a good place in his heart, right? And so like if so that you see that, right? And it's this little teaching moment. You can be like, well, he made bad choices, but he's trying to do what's right. And so we need to do what's right, son, and teach my kids that. And so I'm really hoping that we as a society can kind of like look at these examples, right? Look at the superheroes and say, what should we be learning or what should we be taking away? Because everyone has flaws. No one's perfect. But here's Spider-Man. What is good out of this character? Why do we watch him? Why do we identify with him? What good can we take and then turn around and internalize and, do better with? So...
Yep, that's something everybody can identify with. There's a character out there for everybody where you can pull something from them and be like, you know what? Yeah, we can do better. I can do better.
Yeah. So let me ask you, do you identify with one character, many characters? Who would you say is like a character you identify with? Oh man, very strongly.
Probably Tony Stark, to be perfectly honest. Like his like just the way he goes about everything. And the fact that he tries to put everything on himself is something that I do a lot. And it gets me into situations that is not always the best because, I feel like I can do it all. So I definitely identify with Tony Stark in that way where he tries to put too much on his shoulders instead of just asking for help or talking to people like, hey, I'm good. I need help on this instead of I'm just, I'm doing them all. So I can identify.
Oops, I created Ultron.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, whoops. I was doing it on my own, yeah.
I was trying to do this for good, but...
Right. I've got favorites, but as I've grown older and I've kind of looked at myself, I think I identify with Captain America a lot because for me, like, loyalty is a huge thing. Like, I am fiercely loyal to those that are my family and those that are my friends, people that I love, that I'm willing to do whatever I need to in order to make sure that they're successful or that I'm helping them or that I'm there for them. And sometimes that means that I do it at my own expense. And like I looked at Captain America and like that's like a value like I see in him, or at least that I see in him and that I internalize, is that he's fiercely loyal to, to the country and the ideals and that he grew up in, and like he's kind of like a man displaced, right? Because he's out of time and he's in a new time period. But yeah, he still has that same kind of like moral compass that points him in a direction, and he's like, he's going to try to protect people to his dying breath if he can. And that's kind of like who I think of myself as. Like I'm willing to do whatever I have to help protect those that I love. And so like I identify with that personality part of him a lot, and I see that a lot. But if I have a favorite, it's got to be Superman. If I only have to pick one, it's got to be Superman. A close second would be Spider-Man.
Yeah, but my favorite would probably be It would probably be honestly Thor, because he just does what he wants. Like he's like, you know what, I'm Thor. I'm gonna go have fun. We're gonna have a ball. We're gonna get stuff done though. All right.
Right.
And in the end, like he's still all about doing the right thing. Like we're gonna get it done. We're gonna do it right. We're gonna have a ball while we do it. And where's the ale? Where's the beer? Let's go.
Right. And can we have a party as we go along? Yeah. I love it. So let's ask this question for our question of the week to the Super Friends. Who is your favorite superhero? Who's your favorite comic book character? So if you want to say Black Widow, I'm not gonna bust your balls this time and say Black Widow's technically not a superhero. I will allow the Batman answer, as much as I know it's gonna kill me because my brother's gonna come strong with it, because Batman's a vigilante.
Yes, he's not a superhero.
Not a superhero.
He's a
but you know what though?
With a lot of toys and
that's what I'm saying.
Kung fu.
But although someone can make that same argument for Tony Stark, however, he does have the arc reactor in him, so he does have some, some special abilities.
That just goes down a whole rabbit hole, because he's got like super intelligence, right? So that kind of but Batman does too. So
Batman does too. Yeah. So I won't nitpick this week. Everyone's got a free pass. I'm not gonna judge. Super Friends, let me know who is your favorite superhero or comic book character. All the normal places on Twitter, Facebook, email, and also the voicemail. Dev, I'm so glad we got to do this. I mean, I don't want to keep you too long tonight because we could probably talk for hours and hours, but I'm so glad we got a chance to do this. Let all of our super friends know where they can find you out there in the social media sphere and on the podcast.
Yeah, so you can definitely find me at Devin Tyus on Twitter. I'm part of the PSVG crew. I do have my 2 podcasts that I'm on regularly, which is PSVG Unrated and PSVG The OT with Coach Mo. And you can sometimes find me on their one show, the PSVG, our actual main show. I do that every now and again. You can find me on PSN at DatNinjaDev2 or on the Xbox Live at DatNinjaDev.
Dev, I'm so glad we got to do this. We got to do this again, man.
Absolutely.
So much fun.
It's good times. And we're in the same time zone, so that makes it easier.
Well, I'm actually Mountain Standard Time, but
that's 1 hour.
Yeah, but yes, it's 1 hour. It's not crazy like where people are like, "Hey, we can record." I'm like, "Great," and they're like, 6 o'clock work. I'm like, "What time zone are we talking about?" They're like, "Oh, I'm in Great Britain." I'm like, "Yeah, that's like the middle of the day. I'm working. That doesn't work." But yeah, it's nice. It's nice talking to someone on the West Coast for once.
Absolutely.
Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude, wherever you are out there, keep safe and may the Force be with you.